When we are talking about modern tennis players, the name Rafael Nadal pops to mind quite often. Why is that? Nadal has been on a roll ever since he debuted, and he really pushed the boundaries of tennis. He continues to be a marvel player, despite dealing with injuries here and there. And on top of that, he has a very interesting story too. Rafael Nadal was born on June 3, 1986 in Mallorca. His family was connected to tennis already, since his uncle was a former professional tennis player. In fact, his uncle started working with him since he was 3 years old, so obviously he had a lot of guidance and assistance over the years. When he was 8, Nadal actually won the Under-12 regional, which showed his uncle that he would be able to do some amazing things. It really pushed the boundaries of what he could do, and he managed to show his uncle that yes, he is able to train more and do more stuff, which is hard to encounter nowadays. What his uncle saw is that Nadal played the forehand shots with 2 hands, so he encouraged him to play with the left hand. Switching that was not easy, but it did give Rafael Nadal the upper hand since not a lot of players were able to do this kind of stuff. And it worked, since he managed to win the European tennis title and Spanish tennis title when he was just 12 years old. Needless to say, he turned pro when he was 15, which is quite the achievement. The interesting thing is that when he was 16, Nadal managed to enter the semi-finals for the boys' singles tournament at Wimbledon. When he was 17, he actually was the youngest male that would reach the 3rd round at Wimbledon, ever since Boris Becker did the same. So even at a very young age, he was breaking records left and right, which is amazing in its own right. When he was 19, he actually won the French Open, and that was the first time he competed in the tournament. That's what actually shot his ranking to number 3 in the world. On top of that, he continued earning more and more wins that year, which is when he was dubbed as the King of Clay back in 2005. Being able to achieve that early on in your career is a blessing, and it really brought in a lot of interesting benefits and ideas, which is rarely something you can see in a situation like this. Rafael Nadal is the type of player that really gives it all to his craft, so he did encounter some foot and shoulder injuries that year. Yet, he still managed to acquire his 2nd French Open and 4 more titles the next year, which showed his resilience and true focus on excellence. In 2007, he also won at Roland Garros and took 5 other titles home. He managed to be on a roll, and he continued to show that if you are committed to this, nothing in the world will ever stop you, which is great in its own right. 2008 was a great year for him too, because he managed to win the French Open as well as Wimbledon. This was a historic moment, since he managed to beat Federer in what went down as the longest final in history. That was also the year when he took the gold medal home at the Olympics. He became number 1 in the world in 2008, and the next year, he managed to win his first Australian Open, which was great. In 2010, he won Wimbledon and the French Open as well, and also got to the US Open too, which was very important for him. At that young age, this showed that he was the 2nd player that would achieve all the Golden Slams and also obtain the Olympic gold. It was, and still is, an incredible achievement, unlike anything that you can find these days. It's definitely something special, and it showed just how good Rafael Nadal can actually be, and the commitment he has to actively being the best in the entire world. 2011 was the year when he was enrolled in the Spanish Davis Cup, and they managed to win for the fourth time. He did encounter some issues, and he surrendered his #1 ranking to Novak Djokovic at Wimbledon. However, he did win at Roland Garros. Unfortunately, some injuries caught up with Nadal, and he was forced to not enter the 2012 Olympics due to a knee injury that kept him away from tennis for multiple months. He did come back in 2013 when he won the 8th French Open against David Ferrer. He was unable to play a few months prior, but after a lot of hard work and training, this paid off, and he managed to come back victorious, which was amazing. He did end up losing at Wimbledon that year, but he was still happy that he was healthy, although people put that loss on his health issue. He did manage to win the US Open that year, and that certainly opened a whole lot of doors. 2014 brought his 9th French Open, where he faced Djokovic, but he was unable to play at the US Open that year due to a wrist injury. He did attend the 2015 Australian Open, but due to having some injuries, he lost there and at the French Open. He did manage to win the Mercedes Cup in Germany, but he lost at Wimbledon. 2016 was a rather challenging year for the fabled tennis player. He lost at the Australian Open, but won at Barcelona and Monte Carlo. The wrist injury he had during that time took its toll on him, and he did have to pull out of the French Open. He did manage to bring some Olympic gold home with Marc Lopez in doubles. The next year, he faced Federer at the Australian Open, and Federer defeated him, although it took quite a lot of work and commitment to achieve that. Rafael Nadal did manage to come back and win the French Open for the 10th time, which was extremely important at that point. Not only that, but he won the US Open in 2017 as well. However, 2018 brought new injuries, which forced him to retire from the Australian Open quarterfinal. He did acquire the Barcelona Open win that year. The French Open 11th win was there for him as well. In 2019, he went to the Australian Open and he actually won. He even won at the US Open that year, and in 2020, he won the 13th French Open against Djokovic. He didn't manage to win the Australian Open in 2021, however. It's important to note that ever since he turned pro, Nadal has always been facing some sort of rivalries. But there are some that continue to be very impressive, and the Rafael Nadal-Roger Federer rivalry is one of them. They played against each other 40 times, with Nadal having 24 wins and 16 losses. He has the record on clay and hard courts, but Federer is better on indoor hard and grass. With that in mind, every match they are in is legendary and also quite a lot of fun. It shows the commitment and hard work they both have to deliver something amazing and downright unique. A similar rivalry would be the one against Novak Djokovic. They met 58 times to play against each other, and Nadal is down 2 with 28 wins, and Novak having 30 wins from those encounters. Rafael Nadal is very passionate about anime, and more specifically, Dragon Ball. He also loves playing poker and golf. He has been in a relationship with Maria Francisca Pereiro Pascual since 2005, and the two married in 2019. One thing to note about Nadal is that he speaks Catalan and Spanish, but he did manage to learn some English as well. Although he had very humble beginnings, he did train a lot, and he has become an idol for many people who want to achieve success in what they do. Rafael Nadal is an extraordinary athlete and an amazing tennis player. He has become one of the best in the world for a reason, because not only is he training a lot, but despite injuries, he continues to come back and show his prowess. He really is one of the top tennis players because he never gave up, and he always pushes the boundaries to show just how good he is. That's why he will remain in the tennis history books as one of the best players ever.